Hello learners, this is Dr. Ruchika Kuba, Professor, School of Health Sciences, Indira Gandhi National Open University, and your course coordinator for this course on lifestyle and non-communicable diseases. You have already learnt about many non-communicable diseases and their risk factors and the preventive measures that can be adopted. In this session, we shall discuss a common non-communicable disease, that is the coronary artery disease. This is one of the common diseases and its incidence is increasing in not only adults but also adolescents. We have with us Dr. Priya Bansal, Professor, Department of Medicine, Lady Hardinge Medical College, New Delhi. Welcome, Dr. Priya.
Thank you.
So, today we will learn more about the coronary artery disease. Before we learn more about it, can you tell us what is coronary artery disease?
Like all organs of the body have a blood supply, our heart is also supplied by blood through special arteries called as coronary arteries. Over time, with age, with certain risk factors, the blood supply through these coronary arteries can become less. The blood is essential to the heart because it provides nutrients as well as oxygen. If the heart does not get enough nutrients and oxygen, its function will become poor. The heart is not functioning adequately, there is reduced blood supply throughout the body and which can compromise the function of the body. Why does the blood supply of the coronary arteries become less? It is because of narrowing due to deposition of what is called as plaques.
Okay, so what is this plaque?
A plaque contains fatty deposits, it contains cholesterol, it contains certain injured cells, and with time this plaque keeps on increasing in size. This buildup of plaque happens to all human beings starting at a very young age, and this building up of plaque causing narrowing of the coronary arteries is called as atherosclerosis. With time, every human being will have very hard and narrow arteries.
How does this plaque generally, have an impact on the flow of the blood,
Yes.
causing a reduction, as you said,
Yes.
and causing a heart disease?
Very true. Now, the plaque can keep on increasing in size. After a point, it can become very fragile and unstable. The plaque can break, and just like any reparative process in the body due to any injury, certain cells called as platelets come and sit on the plaques. When the plaque gets increased in size, it breaks and it is tried to be repaired by platelets, it can cause complete obstruction of the coronary arteries. When there is very less blood supply of the coronary arteries, oxygen and nutrients do not reach the heart fails, and the patients or the person at that time starts feeling tired because the heart is not sending adequate blood to the body. When it is tired, patients feel breathless, they can have chest pain, and overall, the heart muscle becomes very weak.
Okay, so what we have understood is that the heart, though it has a lot of blood inside it, is not able to take that blood and use it. But it needs, because the blood has to be used by the muscles of the heart. And so this blood is coming through very small narrow arteries or small tubes. These are called the coronary arteries, and when these coronary arteries get blocked because of plaques, as you explained, which are basically a deposit of lot of things, the blockage happens. The lumen or the blood flow through the coronary artery doesn't happen, and so there can be, the heart in a way starts crying and it starts causing a chest pain, and so it says, hold on, take care. So that's what it happens probably. Okay, so that's very nice. Now, can you tell us what are the risk factors which are associated with this disease? Are some people more prone to get this disease than others? Because you said the plaque goes on occurring in everybody's body, and from birth itself it may start, but then everybody doesn't get heart disease. Some do and some don't. Now, why do some people get heart disease?
Age is a very important factor in causing coronary artery disease. That is something common to all people of both the genders. So, as age increases above 35 to 40 years of age, everyone is at risk for heart disease. Now, in women, there is a special hormone called as estrogen, which has some protection. When that estrogen also dips, women are at risk for coronary artery disease as much as males. This reduction in the estrogen happens around menopause. So, you can safely say that men are at risk for CAD around the age of 35 and 40, and women above the age of 55 when they are perimenopausal. The other factors are family history. Somebody who already have their parents or grandparents having a history of heart disease are more at risk. Then male, like I explained already, are at more at risk of coronary artery disease. And all of us are born with an inherent personality. Some people take more stress in a given situation, some people take less stress. So people who have a more stressed personality or a more anxious personality are at more risk of CAD. Now, these factors over which we have no control, we do not have control about the gender we are born with, we have no control about the age we are at, we do not have any control over our family history as well as our personality. They are called as non-modifiable risk factors. So if somebody has these risk factors, they have to be more careful with their lifestyle.
Okay, so there are more chances of developing the disease. Now, you've told about non-modifiable risk factors which we really can't do much about. But are there some risk factors which can be modifiable, which we can take care of so that we don't suffer from heart disease?
Yes. So there are these modifiable risk factors which are completely in our hands. What are these modifiable risk factors? Factors which you can control or which you can change, means which you can modify. They are cigarette smoking, people who have high blood pressure. Somebody who has high blood pressure can change that blood pressure to a low blood pressure based on one's activities as well as medications. Patients who have a very high cholesterol, people who have diabetes, people who are obese and overweight can work on becoming more lean. Patients who have a sedentary habit, people who have sedentary habit, continuous working in offices and other workplaces, sitting on a chair, and people who are having more stress, suffering from depression, or have more anger in them. These people with these risk factors have to be aware of these factors first of all. They have to identify they are at risk, and then they are able to modify these risk factors.
And I think that people who have more than one risk factors are more at a
Yes,
risk
that is a
of
very good
developing the
point.
disease.
Yes, Dr. Ritika. So people who are having more than one risk factor are equally more at risk for these diseases of the heart.
And I think another important thing for everybody to understand is that if you are young, for example, you said age. Now, the chances increases with age. Now, if you are a cigarette smoker, but you are just maybe 17 years old, your chance of getting a heart disease may not be that high as it will be when you become 40 years. You've smoked, for a long time, and now your age is also not on your side. So, more chances. So, modifiable risk factors can be modified, non-modified cannot be, but when non-modified combine with the modifiable risk factors, then it becomes a little serious. So, with age you probably need to really change your lifestyle. So, probably whenever you start changing your lifestyle, it's never too late.
Yes, and that's a very interesting point Dr. Ruchika has raised. If somebody has these modifiable risk factors, cigarette smoking, high cholesterol, sedentary lifestyle, obesity, the coronary artery disease will come at an early age. So, somebody who is smoking can have heart attack around the age of 20-25 itself. So, it is very important to be aware of these risk factors and prevent them so that one is not victim to this disease early.
And we are seeing, nowadays, even in India, we are seeing even adolescent coming up with heart disease, sudden cardiac
Yes.
deaths and all because of all these risk
Yes.
factors that they are having. Now, when can we suspect, that we may be suffering from a coronary artery disease?
Yes.
Are there some definitive symptoms, definitive indications?
So, like Dr. Richika very rightly said, that the heart cries for help whenever there is a reduced blood supply. How does the heart make the patient aware that this is something serious? So, a very important symptom is right where your heart is, the patient will feel a squeezing kind of discomfort. There is a pain. It feels like a heaviness, like a huge load has been kept on the chest. It can feel like a squeezing kind of pain, or somebody can just feel full, that somebody is feeling there is some kind of choke happening around my chest area, and that will suggest that this is heart pain. This particular pain around the chest area, which feels like a squeezing, is called as angina. This pain doesn't get restricted only to the chest area. It can go to the arms, both the arms, very important. It can go to the jaw, it can go to the back, and both our shoulders.
So, but very often, people think that, oh, I had something, fried, or I had something and it's coming up and there is indigestion. So, should everybody who gets this kind of pain be really worried, or should they just shrug and feel that it could be just heartburn or indigestion? Because that is one thing which is very common, and especially if it occurs at night. So, what do you think they should do?
Yes. So, just before this discussion of pain, we have discussed the risk factors. So, somebody who's an older age group, male patients, patients who have history of smoking, diabetes, sedentary lifestyle, people who have history of their family members having this coronary artery disease, if they suffer from this kind of chest pain, some kind of heaviness, even if it feels like just gastritis following a heavy meal, they should never ignore it. Always get an ECG done.
That's very important, I think, very important. Now, are there any more indications or symptoms that you may be, having a coronary artery disease, angina, or maybe, a heart attack or something severe?
Yes, because the heart has not functioned properly, the blood is not flowing properly, then that means there is reduced blood pressure throughout the body. So patients can have a feeling of feeling very cold, but at the same time feeling sweating. So patients will feel cold and have cold sweats. They can have lightheadedness. They can feel like they're having some kind of tendency to fall. And some patients can complain of, feeling nauseous, feeling some of a sensation of vomiting. And some patients can feel just some kind of neck pain. Sometimes the heart is not immediately attacked. Sometimes it is very slow. So patients just start feeling very, very tired with time.
Okay.
Yes.
So, sometimes we also come across the term of a silent heart attack, that he didn't get pain, he didn't get all these symptoms that you're talking about. So, what is this silent heart attack? Is it a reality? Does it happen?
Yes, silent chest pain is a very serious disease because the heart is failing, but there is no indication of it. People keep on doing their work, but the heart did not cry for help. And this is called as silent angina or silent chest pain. So, the blood supply is reducing, but there is no pain. What kind of patients can have that? Patients who are having very, very high blood sugars, uncontrolled diabetes, people who have had similar symptoms in the past and the heart has become a little more, rough, and that these attacks keep on happening silently, but the patients do not think it's a very big event. And even very elderly patients, the nerve supply gets compromised in such a way that they think that it is a usual kind of tiredness and not a very big heart attack. So silent chest pain is serious because sometimes it can be like a terminal event. Somebody with a silent chest pain can have a very big heart attack and even lose their lives by the time they reach the hospital.
So, that means one very important message that you have given is that the diabetic patients should be very, very careful, and maybe they should get frequent checkups done about their blood pressure, maybe even ECGs regularly as they are advised by the doctors, so that they are aware that they are going okay. And most important, as you mentioned, that they should control their sugar, because uncontrolled sugar can result in a silent heart attack. Okay. So, now that we know that these could be the symptoms, we go to a hospital. How do the doctors generally make the diagnosis that you may be suffering from a coronary artery disease?
Yes. So, all patients complain of chest pain, and some may complain of alternate symptoms like just having some shoulder pain, some pain in the arms, and neck pain and back pain, fatigue, breathlessness, feeling tired. Now, this, when it is associated with risk factors, male patients, 40 years and above, in women above 50-55 years of above, and patients who are smoking with history of high blood pressure or diabetes, patients who are obese, and who have had family history of anybody in their family, siblings, parents, grandparents. In these patients, if there is chest pain, then we can be reasonably sure that they may be having a cardiac event and that they should undergo an immediate ECG in the hospital.
Okay, so ECG is the most important thing. Are there any other investigations which are required to confirm the diagnosis? Because if I am having a symptom or anybody is having a symptom, we should know which hospital or which health center we should go and approach, because they should be having those facilities for those investigations if we want to be quickly diagnosed and given the treatment.
So yes, what we have seen is that if we are able to get an urgent ECG, then we are reasonably sure whether the heart attack is taking place or not. So what we advise is rush to the biggest hospital. So most likely they will have a cardiac center, and if there is an abnormal ECG, an intervention can be done as soon as possible. Other than the ECG, sometimes there are other walls of the heart which do not get picked up on the first ECG that we do. So in that case, there are certain blood tests. When the heart is getting damaged, certain enzymes are released into the blood. They are called as troponins or creatine kinase. They get increased in the blood. Then there is a test called as echocardiography. It is like an ultrasound of the heart in which we can see that the heart muscle is not functioning properly or it is not pumping properly. It becomes very slow. And the most definitive diagnosis is with the help of a coronary angiogram. It is done by a cardiologist. A dye is put in the vessels of the body, and it shows the blood supply of the coronary circulation. So if a coronary artery is getting narrowed, we are very, very, very sure that the coronary artery disease is happening and there is an immediate event of a heart attack.
So in such cases, we can really pinpoint where the blockage is and we can do some intervention.
So just to summarize, one ECG, 2D echocardiography that I said about the ultrasound of the heart, then the blood test which can measure the cardiac enzymes, and most important is the coronary angiogram.
We've come to the treatment, but suppose we're not having a cardiac event, we don't have any symptoms, but we know we are at risk. So can we have some kind of a screening or some kind of a health checkup to know that, yeah, we could be, at the impending danger of a heart attack?
Yes. So with increasing awareness, and there are a lot of executive health checkups, everybody is aware of the risks that come with work or one's lifestyle, with one's habits. So everybody wants to be safe, that no one can continue with the kind of life one is having by first making sure that they do not have this disease. So this is where screening becomes very, very important. So all executive health checkups or patients of people of a certain age can undergo these tests to see the health of the heart. Now, like I said, a dye is injected to see the coronary arteries. Similar thing can be done with just like an X-ray of the heart from the outside. This is called as computed tomography, or what is called a CT scan. So you can have a CT of the coronary arteries. Similarly, there is a MRI of the coronary arteries. Other than that, you can assess the calcium score. We had discussed something about the plaques. The plaques have some cholesterol, some fatty deposit. They also have a lot of calcium in them. So if we can get a calcium scan of the heart or the coronary arteries, that is another screening test. Other than that, we can make the patient do running on a treadmill in the hospital, because of which we can come to know whether the heart is able to do certain kind of activities. And we can also
Is this the stress test that
yes,
is
this is
normally
exactly called as the stress test. So the stress test, what it does is the patients are made to exercise, and we can simultaneously either measure the ECG or we can do a scan. So it will show how much load the heart can take.
Now, the best part is prevention, probably, rather than, detection and treatment.
Yes.
So, can we actually prevent heart disease, coronary artery disease,
Yes.
whether I have high risk or not, or I just want to prevent it, I want to be sure, I want to live a healthy life?
Yes. So there is a lot of awareness, like I said before. So we should all be sure that, number one, our weight should be within limits. It is not only about the weight. Somebody who is tall can have a good weight. So it is called a body mass index, what is called as the BMI. So the BMI should be in the range of 20 to 25. It is a ratio of the weight with the height into 2. Okay. Somebody who has diabetes should be aware that very good control of diabetes will prevent the patient from going into a heart attack. Similarly, somebody who is aware of having hypertension can start cutting down on salt, take medications regularly, and keep the risk low. And somebody who has a sedentary lifestyle should be sure that they should walk and take enough standing breaks in their work culture. With prevention, it is very important that we start working on our food habits. Okay. Now, we have two kinds of fats in the body, saturated as well as unsaturated fats. It is the saturated fats which are very bad for our heart. Saturated fats are present in butter, hard cheese, cakes, biscuits, and coconut oil and palm oil. So we have to reduce these to maintain the good cholesterol of our body and foods. The unsaturated fats are present in nuts and seeds, avocados, fish, sunflower and vegetable oil. They are good cholesterol and should be increased in our diet.
So, it is the bad cholesterol or the saturated fat which leads to the plaque deposits.
Yes, yes, that is becoming the major part of the plaques that
because the body does need some energy, and some part of the energy does come from fats. So,
Yes.
it's better to use the unsaturated
Yes.
fats rather than the saturated fats.
Yes.
Now, you have also spoken about diet. Are there any other ways to prevent?
Yes, very important. So, like I said, that we have to be more physically active. Somebody who has a very busy lifestyle, for example, a doctor is taking rounds in the hospital, or there are other officers who are, completely having these deadlines to meet. It is not enough of physical activity. You should have a dedicated hour in the day in which you are doing exercises just for the health of the heart. The exercises increase the efficiency of the heart. They train the heart to take more load, and it also keeps the blood pressure under control. So the exercises can be just brisk walking, swimming, even dancing. They make the heart work harder and keeps it very healthy.
Okay. So, but some person who has had a coronary artery disease, would you advise him also exercise, or he should not take any exercise?
So exercise is important at every stage of coronary artery disease. So there will be a adequate rest period in which they have to take a break and then gradually build up their physical capacity. Even a damaged heart can be allowed to take certain load with gradual training.
Okay. So that's very important that even a person who has had a coronary artery disease must go in for exercise, which will help improve his health.
Yes.
And also probably the arteries, some regeneration may occur, some new
Yes.
arteries may form, so that the blood supply to the heart increases and they don't have a problem giving it again.
Yes.
Now you mentioned some other risk factors also. So can there be some prevention for preventing those risk factors?
Yes.
The modifiable ones especially?
Yes, definitely. So, like I said, the weight should be healthy. Smokers have to give up smoking, and the risk increases exponentially with smoking. And as soon as you stop, there is an immediate break, there is immediate recovery of the heart, so that the risk becomes low over time. It's not like if you once stop smoking today, there will be no heart attack tomorrow. But with time, that risk definitely reduces.
With smoking, there's a lot of, I do not know, misconception or whatever, that vaping probably is better than smoking. Is that so?
No. All kinds of smoking, whether vaping, whether tobacco chewing, nicotine, hookah, all these are very, very unhealthy for the heart. They increase the carbon in the arteries, and that becomes very unhealthy for the overall health of the body as well as the heart. It's like accelerated aging. Every part of the body becomes older faster.
So vaping is just a fashionable way of smoking
Yes.
rather than a better or healthier way of smoking.
Yes. And other than that, alcohol consumption has to be limited. One should have more alcohol-free days in the week. Overall, both men and women should avoid binge drinking large amount of alcohol for short periods of time. So there are a lot of people who say we do only social drinking. But even with social drinking, you should avoid large quantities in one go.
All right.
We have to keep our blood pressure under control, diabetes under control, take medicines on time. We have discussed about personality. One should try to become more calm, try to not be running after deadlines, plan and organize your work so that one can get adequate rest to the mind. One should get enough sleep. Around 7 to 9 hours of sleep is very important for the health of the heart. Try to avoid caffeine or smoking or alcohol or a heavy meal just before sleep. Adequate rest is very important for the heart. Other than that, I would like to lay stress on the fact that food, exercise, they are said enough, but it is not practiced very regularly. There is very easy access to ready-to-make foods, but they lack vitamins, minerals, they lack adequate fiber.
And also very high content of salt in it.
Yes.
As you said, we need to avoid
Yes.
salt.
So age-old habits with new habits have to be in balance. You should lay adequate stress on dry fruits and vegetables in the form of salad. Raw salad is very good. It reduces the cholesterol. And one should reduce overall salt consumption. Indian diet has very high salt content. Anybody who travels abroad will think the food is so bland, but actually that is healthy food. They have good quality of air index as well. So when we don't have good AQI around our homes, at least we can work on other things that can damage the body.
So
Reduce the overall salt,
when should we
yes.
start our lifestyle modifications? Should it be at 30, 40, 50? When should we start?
So the earliest plaque deposition has been seen to be around the age of 8 and 10. So that is childhood. But initially we used to not see very young coronary artery diseases. We did not see heart attack in adults. But something has gone with the lifestyle right now. Plaque deposition has always happened around the age of 8 and 10. But with that, there used to be adequate exercises, very less screen time, very less sedentary lifestyle. So the prevention of CAD starts as early as school. I would say somebody who's even 5 or 6 years of age can start having a idea about a good cardiac health. So they should do adequate exercises, do not spend enough time on the screen, not sit continuously indoors, and have healthy food habits in the form of, access to fruits, vegetables, less salt, less oil.
So that is very important message, I think. So I think the school children also should be told about this and the risk factors, and also how to prevent heart disease in the adulthood. They should not feel that this is not the time. They should not go to the canteens and have all the samosas and the chow mein and whatever. So it's not just that. I think even the schools need to have a healthy canteen, healthy messages to be given to the children, whether it is the school or the parents, and better to follow, once for your children you start following, then you yourself also have a much healthier lifestyle. So I think that's a very important thing. So any take home messages for our learners for this?
Yes, Dr. Ruchika, we have discussed about risk factors, we have discussed about symptoms, but I would say everyone is at risk of coronary artery disease. Somebody likes more cake, somebody likes to sit and watch TV for long hours. For somebody, it is about good work because it is an AC environment and I just like to sit in my office. Some people are very salt of pickles, high salt pickles. So I would say everybody is risk of coronary artery disease at some stage or the other. So everybody should exercise daily, minimum 30 to 45 minutes. Everybody should try to cut down on salt, and everybody should maintain a healthy body weight. Other than that, some things you are not able to control adequately: hypertension, diabetes, taking so many medicines. But if these 3-4 things are kept in control, everything can be managed better.
I think that's very, very important what you have mentioned, and it's very important that everybody follows this. And as you said, that very stringent measures not to be adopted, but at least these things of diet, exercise, taking less salt, and also leading a stress-free life. It's very easy to say, but slowly one can inculcate and have some ways of finding hobbies, some ways of maybe meditation, even exercise itself helps to reduce stress. So these are the things which will probably help all our people. And not only just that, I think passing the message to other people in your community, other people in your family is equally important. What you are following, let yourself be an example to others, that what we are doing, because we are doing, you can also do. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.